whatever we do, whatever version it takes us to more capitalism. And I think capitalism to me is just like
Okay.
another word for bad infinity, as in like we've had aspects of it in all sorts of different orders of society, but we now have a system of no systems where all we have is it, and we call that capitalism. And I think the thing is, it's like when people get really upset when you critique capitalism or when you raise the question of Marx and this kind of stuff. But I think the first question is like, I don't even know if we know what capitalism is necessarily.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I think
Yeah.
this is what, to me, what I'm taking from this conversation is that this is what the more the concrete direction we need to take our conversation at Wake, which is the way death drive, like to talk about death of God, the way death drive functions in terms of thinking about socialist politics.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the
So
thing is,
maybe that's something that we can further elaborate on
absolutely. And also,
at
I kind
Wake.
of want to say, in terms of like, I'm not in any way against, like, I have a huge critique of the way like the so-called left has facilitated and lubricated capitalism, or the left wing of or the, let's say, the aesthetic left wing. But I definitely, in terms of my own politics, identify as a left-wing person, and think personally, I don't know what the direction should be and how it might. But I think a good place to start is whatever we do, understanding how capitalism functions and is a function of our subjectivity. But obviously, the thing is, it's
Yeah,
like we're
that's
in a
right.
state where it's like absolutely fucking crazy. And, I don't know, maybe this is something, maybe this moment, I think a lot of people who were kind of like looking at Trump 1.0 as like a question of like, this is a symptom. It's better to have a wolf in wolf's clothing than a wolf in sheep's clothing in terms of like, what we see with the Democratic Party. But I do think that we're seeing with Trump 2.0, it's like, it's so manifestly clear how bad this is. So maybe this will mobilize people towards, and the likes of Musk's complete contradictory statements about everything, in terms of his very poor understanding of economics is very, very clear. But then I don't know how we go about, yeah. I mean, people have all sorts of ideas which are really, really interesting that need to be discussed. But the fact that, the fact that we had Bernie in 2016, now this, and it's 8 years and it's only gotten worse, is I think an example of where reality and subject fantasy sort of there's a catch up point. But
Yeah, yeah.
things have to get really, really bad for people to buy out of the fantasy of wholeness and completeness, which capitalism offers us and basically tells us you're a piece of shit if you don't achieve. When we obviously do not live in any form of meritocracy. Maybe there's smidgens of, the meritocracy is the exception to the rule.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can pick up on that at Wake.